guys, welcome back to our Sunday episode. Obviously, this is going to be a big one because we are going into elections on this week, and we're going to be covering them live as well. So make sure you stay tuned. We're going to be here throughout the night in the UK. We're going to be covering the US presidential elections, and I think it's going to be mega exciting. So let's go into FX forecast, and so you guys are prepared for the week to come. And guys, don't forget to thumbs up, comment, and subscribe if you enjoy the content and it helps you prepare for your week ahead. So, as we can get started, euro dollar is my arch nemesis. Last week we were saying that we was going back to buying, and we are now back to selling. We've been staying clear of euro against the US dollar for quite some time now, just because it is ridiculously choppy. And we mentioned last week in the forecast that, you know, if we are pound US dollar short, theoretically we should be euro US dollar short because of the correlation. And from my point of view, that's why we said that we would step aside and would leave euro dollar alone. So we are expecting the move to be continuing bearish and following the pound against US dollar. However, we won't be touching it until we actually see this low taken out here, because I think it's too many times it's been going up, it's been going down, and so if our predictions of the chop aren't that great, it's definitely worthwhile waiting for a clear direction. So what do we expect to happen when we go down to the 15 minutes? We've actually seen some sort of great levels and breakdowns here with cluster. You can see as the trend is quite established and formed throughout the week, confirming the downwards move. We had multiple cluster entries here, helping individuals plot their entries and potential exits. And then we saw this great sort of consolidation period before we saw the kind of confirmed breakdown to the downside. What a move we had indeed. Once we took out the lows here, it was nothing stopping euro US dollar pushing the markets downwards. And then going on to Friday, you could see how price came up to the UK pivot point. Cluster signaled that this could now include further selling, and the markets have continued to sell off. Question is, will they go down and break these lows? Overall, again, we are bearish on this. My prediction of this is that we will see some definite chop coming into this, but we're staying clear of euro against the US dollar, just like last week, just because the daily isn't as clear cut as some of the other majors that we're going to be focusing on. So as we move on to pound against the US dollar, our prediction last week was 100% correct. We did predict last week that we would see selling off starting to happen in pound against the US dollar, and we have been bearish even though the moving averages have been to the upside. This was again down to the fact that we expected to see some negative news coming out from Brexit, rumours and shorting into those, nothing new sort of beneficial news, without anything confirmed really. Elliot will go into this a little bit more when we go into the fun.
Brexit this week.
We've
had enough of Brexit.
Until we go into the fundamentals.
I'm not talking Brexit. Brexit's not being mentioned this week.
Okay, fine. Brexit won't be mentioned. But game plan is exactly the same. Pound against US dollar. Looking to short sell into spikes. My short sell there on the far left. Taking the position. Got two lower highs formed here off of this spike. Was waiting for the day to settle down. As I saw it start to break out of these this sort of low formed, I thought that was it. I'm involved. I want to get short. The trend was up again. I'm not really an individual that trades against the trend, but in this case, fundamentals for me, I always feel come first over technicals. So I maintained my short holding position. Was filled with confidence the next day once we saw that price was rejecting, coming up to the pivot point, multiple times rejecting, where traders could look to have joined my my short position as well, just because we had the trend then confirmed that it was moving into a downtrend. Lower highs were formed, and then from then on for the rest of the week we had absolutely amazing entries getting formed from the cluster. Another again potential entry here. Price was rejecting off of the pivot point, which was fantastic. We saw that quite clearly. And And then we had that happening again where price came back up to the same level previously and then sold off as well. And again, we had it the next day as well, going straight down into this massive sell-off. I didn't think the market would actually go and break down that far, so closed my position out at S2 when I saw the consolidation. It did go further down to S3, but hey, you can't get the top and the bottom. Reasonable move throughout the week. Could have got probably a lot more pips actually just by getting in and out on the cluster entries and signals, which was something that I should have looked at doing, but had a busy week, so held on to the one trade. We then had price move up on Thursday, rejecting this level that we saw previously, old support becoming resistance. Again, cluster was on fire this week with signaling these turning points, allowing for traders to join back into this and follow it back off to the previous low. Looking at Friday's price, you can see that we were looking for price to come slightly higher, form a level up here off of this previous sort of support zone, off of the Thursday pivot point, and then look to continue its move to the downside. So anything can happen this week because obviously we have the elections coming in, so we expect volatility to come into the US dollar. However, again, I'll let Elliot go over this. From a technical point of view, I'm still bearish on pound US dollar. I would love to see another spike, ideally a lot higher, where I can do these shorting into spikes. As you've seen now, for 2 weeks I've been shorting into these spikes, and it's been panning out and working out really nice for me. So let's move on to US dollar against the Japanese yen. Just want to say, I don't want to fill my boots, but last forecast that we did, I spoke about how pound US dollar, I expect it to be bearish. I expect there to be short selling coming into play, and we was 100% right on that. Now, on US dollar yen, I said the same thing. I said, last week when we was looking, was around here, and we said that now I expect price to sell off to the 104 level. Price came straight back down to the 104 level, just like we was talking about, and we have seen it bounce off again. I expect that to happen again. I don't know if we'll see the break. It might be the US election that causes the break of the 104 level, but in the meantime, I am predicting a potential move back up to the moving averages before we sell off again on the US dollar against the Japanese yen. But my overall analysis for this is to maintain shorts. Obviously very conscious of that 104 level, so I'd feel a bit more comfortable shorting in if we saw price move slightly higher this week. So looking at the US dollar against the Japanese yen on the 15-minute time frame, I've drawn this almost like this box zone, which is the 104 level, and you can see that when it hits this sort of zone, it doesn't just reject it slowly. It bounces off of it quite aggressively, and as you can see along here, and then it came down and touched on a Friday as well, and we're expecting this sort of price action to start move slightly higher before we get comfortable to start looking to short sell into the US dollar against the Japanese yen. So looks very fundamentally driven when we hit the 104 level, and you can see price just absolutely smashing higher off of that zone, and it's becoming a well-respected level now because we've tested this for a few weeks now on the go, and we are definitely seeing selling coming back into this more aggressively each time. As you can see, if I go back to the daily, the rallies to the upside are getting smaller. So you can see that the moves that we're getting off of these levels going back up are getting smaller and smaller. So yeah, it'd be very interesting because I think we was analysing this when we was looking at this price around here, weren't we? And saying that we'd be cautious of the 104 level, and then we saw it come up, and it didn't come up as high as it did previously, and now we've come back down to the same level, and I again don't expect price to come up as high as it did before. So we are seeing very much momentum moving into the sell side, but that could all change this week depending on the elections. So this is a massive caution week of what to expect with the elections, and for especially those guys that are trading that are new, you want to take this week as a learning curve with a pinch of salt, and you want to stay tuned with exactly what is going on. And again, we'll be covering the US elections live, giving you an update of expectations, what we're looking at, and how they are going. So don't miss us for that insane late night make sure you get the pizza in and you are watching us. It'll be roughly from 2 a.m. UK time to about 7 a.m. UK time. That's how dedicated we are to bring you guys good content. So that's US dollar against the Japanese yen. Again, we are looking for shorts, but we are waiting for a little bit of a move higher because we don't want to short going into this 104 level. So I'm going to hand over to Elliot, who's going to be giving us a wrap up of the fundamentals in the market and also what to expect this week.
So yeah, looking at the week that's just gone, it's been another, interesting, news-driven week. We've had loads of stuff coming out. COVID wave 2 is very much back on the cards. We've seen France go back into national lockdown this week. Boris has got a lot of pressure over here in the UK to go put us in like a circuit breaker, they're calling it, for sort of 2 weeks. They want to do a national-wide lockdown. He's obviously, at the moment, still sort of refusing to go down that route, sticking with the postcode lockdowns. And, we're seeing more and more places move up into Tier 2 and now Tier 3 as well. But, yeah, looking at COVID across the world, on Thursday, we had over 500,000 cases across the globe, which is a new daily record. I think it was around 546,000 or something ridiculous. And in the US alone, we had 91,000, which again is the record daily cases. So cases are definitely back on the rise. Politicians and traders are more interested in looking at sort of how that's converting into deaths and the sort of hospital. If there's a strain on the NHS, on hospitals around these countries, that's where they're looking to sort of go into lockdown, because they can sort of put up with the cases. It's just when they start putting like strain and stress onto the healthcare systems that they can't operate effectively. So I think that has led to a lot of selling we've seen in the US markets and the European markets. Dow is down over around 10% since the previous swing high this week. Germany as well, that the DAX is down over, I think, about 14%. So big selling this week in the equity markets. On Thursday was quite a busy day. We had the ECB. They left their rates and stimulus unchanged, but Lagarde came out and said that they're looking to provide additional stimulus in December. Didn't really give any specifics on numbers, so the traders will be looking out for that. That did cause a bit of buying to come back into the markets. We also saw on Thursday, record GDP numbers out of the US, 33%. So obviously they was expecting a bounce, but this was a better than expected bounce. Obviously Trump, got on his high horse tweeting left, right, centre, which
biggest growth ever.
Yeah, of course, for Q3. So again, that sort of helped with that sentiment boosting. We saw a bit of rallying come back into equities across Europe and the US in the afternoon. However, in the evening, we then had a lot of earnings come out of the big tech. So we had Apple, Google, Amazon, Facebook, and Twitter, and Netflix also reporting on Thursday. So we had a couple of misses. So Apple missed their iPhone sales estimate, saw that sell off about 4 or 5%. Facebook and Amazon beat expectations, but their outlook was gloomy, which then also caused them to sell off. So sort of worrying about times ahead. Amazon as well was not expecting a great Q4, which I think traders were hoping for, and saw a bit of weakness come back in that after it initially sort of pumped and dumped. It almost looked like one of those, penny stocks. Both Facebook and Amazon sort of rallied up on the initial, and then they sort of came straight back down and further. Alphabet was the only sort of star performer out of the four, and they saw a rebound in advertising spending, which I believe they were up around 12-13%, not long after they reported. So, but this then led to more selling overnight in equities. We saw lower lows on the Dow, on the Nasdaq, and that sort of coupled with the stimulus packages not happening now before the election. So that's pretty much been confirmed. But Trump hasn't held Trump back from saying it's going to be the best stimulus package ever seen after the election. He's so confident that he's going to get in, and he's going to get more control of the House, which will help them push their own deal through. And Pelosi is also saying that a deal can be done before the new president is in, before January. So yeah, the election's heating up. There's a lot going on this week, and it's only going to get more volatile as we sort of enter next week. Yeah, it's gonna be interesting.
Yeah, it's going to be. This is like that week every 4 years that brings some sort of mass excitement to traders. Again, like I was saying just earlier, you want to be, if you've not experienced an election, be very cautious because you can see huge moves. I mean, in 2016 when Trump got in, what was the move we saw to the downside and then to the upside? Wasn't it? It was a good 20% move.
Yeah, I can't remember the exact.
Yeah,
I was on the same percentage.
yeah.
We can get the chart up for people to see.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was, that morning when it was like he came out and did his speech.
Yeah, and it just was going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He didn't declare war on the world. That was.
Yeah,
that's what
basically
he
didn't say that. Yeah, and we declare war on China.
This is an interesting graphic I saw on Zero Hedge. It's a website we read quite a lot of news content on. Take what you will from that. There's basically predicting the people that are talking and saying their votes, in the polls and stuff like that. We're seeing Democrats ahead. However, they're saying, does Trump have the silent majority? The Republican voters that are voting for Trump, that don't want people to know about it. It's a big iceberg here.
I was listening about that literally on the way in today, and they was talking about how they just don't believe that's a thing anymore, the silent majority, because is the amount of online polls that were done is like, why would they be silent in anonymous online polls? But I agree. I think that you're going to see them come out in the masses on Tuesday.
Yeah, and we talked about it as well last week. The sort of the key voting areas or demographics, that have been getting the press. So sort of the new young voters, and then the Hispanics as well. That sort of they've seen record number of voters coming in. So it's going to be interesting, and it's going to be fun to cover it on next Tuesday. It should be good. So looking at the Dow, this is on the 4 hour. So last week we were saying if we saw a break back above, we were around here somewhere. We were looking for a break above 28,500, which we thought would then see the bulls back in charge and take it around to 29,000. That didn't happen, and we just saw, mass selling sort of pretty much this whole week. Small pullbacks, but nothing really where the bulls have really taken charge. It's been very much a bears week. Not surprising to see in the week leading up to the election, and obviously with COVID coming back in, it's no wonder why risk off. Why would you want to be buying equities right now? So much uncertainty with the election and so much uncertainty with COVID. However, there has been some good news in terms of vaccines coming out, if you believe it. Trump was coming out saying that they want to get vaccines, out early next year.
Pfizer came out and said that they think that they would have a vaccine in the US by the end of the year. Yeah.
But then, small numbers, and then by April, large. I think the whole of the US, he was saying. But again, it's a lot of it is election talk as well. It's very hard to sort of clarify what's true, reliable when it's coming out of Trump's mouth. Obviously, there's the other one, Moderna. I don't know how you say it. They're also Moderna, coming out with a vaccine for early next year. So we've seen a big sell-off in US markets and UK. Obviously, FTSE again.
Yeah, obviously, just on that note of vaccines, Russia's already done it.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly.
they're not giving it to Russian citizens. They're giving it to India. To 150 million people or something like that. They're like, let's see how it works over there. Crazy.
So in terms of technical levels, we're looking at 26,000 at the moment on Dow. So if that's broken, that was that level hasn't been hit. You can see on the chart here since sort of the end of July. So if that level's broken, then we could see more stronger selling come back in towards 25,500. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens. I don't want to call it at the moment. It's just so mad. I'm just sticking with momentum. So if we're seeing strong selling, I'm looking for entries and sells. If strong buying comes back in, I'm looking at entries for buys. I don't think you can really second guess the market at the moment. It's just sort of jumping on. The moves are so big. Even if you catch like a sell halfway through, you're gonna clean up. Like I say, I like to keep my stops tight in this sort of environment, just because if I'm wrong, I know you're going to be wrong pretty much straight away. Especially when you're looking to buy, or sell on pullbacks, I should say. If you're looking to sell here, you can have a pretty tight stop. If it breaks back through that level, it's just going to go back up to here. So obviously going into next week, we're going to see more and more volatility come back into the market. And it's sort of, sticking with the momentum rather than trying to sort of second guess the market. You can be you're going to see big moves. So it's just being careful, making sure your risk management is on point, not jumping into trades without stop losses and just leaving them. You could come back and wipe your account. It's very volatile times, but it's exciting. Just keep your ears and eyes open to the news, what's going on. Have your Twitter feeds updated. Just keep an eye out, basically, and join our live stream.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, for me personally, obviously using beast mode, I've turned beast mode off just because of the volatility, and I'll be turning my manual. I won't be trading manually or automated on the Dow Jones until the elections is over. I think you can go either way at the moment in time. There's so many factors in this election that's new in history. It's the biggest spending ever in electoral history. And it's probably looking at the most voters ever as well in history. They're saying
Record
just in mail-in
voters.
ballots was more than the entire voters in 2016 already. So there's a lot to take into account in this election. You've got a very split nation. You have got two very, very different characters and two huge amounts of spending budgets. And when you look at it with COVID as well coming into play and the pandemic, you don't know which way voters are going to go. Are they going to go based off of who's doing better for the economy or who they think is going to do better for the pandemic? So, very interesting space. And for me, I'll be sitting on the sidelines on the Dow.
So, upcoming next week, I mean, we don't need to mention it really. US election. We're going to be doing a live stream, so check that out.
Yeah, we'll be here from 2 a.m. till about 7 a.m. So make sure you join us. We're obviously here providing the news for you guys so you can make the most out of the elections and the most out of the volatility.
In other news, we've also got 2 interest rate decisions out next Thursday, Bank of England and the Fed, and then NFP on Friday. However, we just expect the election to take sort of limelight. Definitely.
It'd be interesting to see how far non-farm payrolls goes on Friday as well, because obviously we still have the mail-in ballots that, we assume that will be counted by then. I think it was like California, which has got the ridiculous extension where they don't need to give their mail-in ballots until December the 3rd or something like that, which is really far away. It'd be interesting to see how the news over the period as well affects the overall state, but it depends if it's a massive wave or not on the elections, doesn't it? Yeah. If it's close, then these mail-in ballots are going to count. If it's absolutely a whitewash to either side, then they don't really matter that much. But it is going to probably be one of the most volatile weeks that we have ever seen whilst we've been covering the forecasting period, really, hasn't it? Yeah, so as we say every week, we say, it's going to be another volatile week. We really mean it, this one. This one is going to be more volatile.
Or should it just be dead now?
There'll be nothing, won't it? It'll be like someone.
Flatline.
So, it definitely won't be. There will be some huge amount of volatility. US elections, again, is one of the most exciting periods to trade, and especially if you have never had the opportunity to trade it. Be very, very cautious. If you're an experienced trader, you know what you're doing. And we'll be here covering the US elections live for you, giving you as much details as possible. And enjoy. And we'll see you on Tuesday for Tuesday night, late night, early Wednesday morning to trade the US elections. Make sure you're fresh and ready. And let's go make the most out of whoever's going to be the next president. Guys, thanks so much for watching our forecasting video. Don't forget to thumbs up, comment, and subscribe. And obviously, the winner for the giveaway is announced in the pinned comment above. The last week's winner nearly missed out on claiming it. They claimed it literally yesterday. And we was going to double up the cash prize this week. But you check the pinned comments. Your name will be in there. And congratulations for winning. And obviously there'll be another link in there to enter into the next giveaway. Make sure you make the most out of these episodes and get that cash, guys. So, guys, don't forget to thumbs up, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you early Wednesday morning / late Tuesday night for the US election, guys. Peace out.